All right, all right, all right. Whoops. Hello, everybody. Get on in here. All right, I see us coming in here. Hello, hello, hello. Carlos, Patrick, welcome on in. We're going to give everybody a chance to kind of get in here and get settled in. Maybe you have a pen and paper. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what you're up to. What's up, Jill? I'm just going to call it everybody comes in here. Maybe. Or Isaac. What's going on? Happy Friday, everybody. Is everyone having a good day so far? Ness, what's going on? Josh, hello, hello, hello. I'm trying to be as timely as possible. Trying to get this train up and going. Welcome to the dungeon. Looks like I'm covering up some of these words. I'm going to shrink myself. How often can you say that? How often can you say that? All right, there we go. Is that better? Not in the way? All right, we're getting some more people in here. Katie, hello, hello. Get on in here. Today's gonna be a cool day. I'm super excited about this content. Candy, hello. And I think it's applicable and it's something that we don't talk enough about in our day-to-day. You know, when we transition from, well, really, we should be learning this stuff in school because we sit for so long in school. But we should be talking about this stuff ad nauseum. So we're all like, yeah, I get it. But yeah, we're going to be talking. What's up, P? Master P's in the house. Vasquez. ¿Qué pasa? What's going on? Get on in here. We're just getting settled in. I'm going to give people probably another minute before I really start introducing myself and kind of going because we have a lot of content and I want to make sure that we get it in there. Make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in here, okay? I'm gonna turn this off. I think it's blocking the screen. Can y'all see the screen just fine? I'm pretty sure you can just see. Let's see what I can see. Okay, y'all can see me. Can someone let me know if you can see me and then if you can see the presentation I'm about to give? Yes, both. Can you, Carla, can you see this? Like the chat that I got pulled up. I've got the chat and it's like covering the whole presentation. Welcome to the dungeon, Carla. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so I'll have that up. Can show, hide the chat, and move around video. Perfect. Okay. Okay, good. So if you're tired of seeing me, then you can just hide me. That's what I heard just now. I'm not going to take it that way, but that's what I heard. All right, Jill. Thank you. Jill's like, I'm tired of seeing your face, bro. Hello, everybody. Let me get one last sip and we'll get going. I am a green tea fanatic and I'm ready to go. Okay. Type in the chat as we're going through this. I have a lot to cover. So I want to make sure that I answer your questions. So if you have questions along the way that I don't answer necessarily because I'm trying to fit everything in, please take the time to type it in and I will get to it at the end or just save your questions to the end. It's up to you. Okay, so a little bit of background about me before we start, just so you know that I'm not just spewing out some stuff. I am Coach William. This is where I coach my morning classes, my foam roll classes, my breathwork classes. It is deemed the dungeon because it is in a basement. My new buddy here, he's only here for today. I'm going to be showing some movements and some foam rolling techniques with him, so I thought that he would be great. And he's wearing my old track uniform. I used to be a track athlete. I've been a coach for, I think, since 09. So it's been a while, and I was a collegiate coach. I coached the sprints and the hurdles. So being around athletes is something that I'm accustomed to, and that when I talk to anybody that's on the Intel Vitality program or any other coach that for that matter, we kind of look at it in that way. Exos is powering the Intel Vitality Program, and Exos are the people that train athletes, especially at the NFL Combine. So as far as athletes go, Exos knows what they're talking about. So Intel Vitality Program knows what they're talking about. Okay, let's continue on. So let's talk about what it takes to train an athlete. All right, you got to have mobility and stability. More often than not, that's something that's missing in a lot of programming. And if you talk to any strength coach at any college, high school, if their athletes are injured, right, non-contact contact kind of injury, if they're experiencing any type of strain or whatever, that's on them. They want to make sure that those athletes stay on the field. And today's lesson, I want you to kind of encompass that you are a corporate athlete. You need to be kind of chasing that goal of being ready to go as an athlete. So with that comes my experience of I need more mobility and stability work with my athletes. And we'll talk more about that. All right. You need to be able to get into positions and get out of positions. And that starts with mobility. The next thing is strength. You got to have some basic strength, specifically core strength. And when you hear any of us coaches talking about core strength, we're generally talking from the hips to the shoulder. This whole space, if we say core, that's what we're referring to. So we want to make sure that when we're running, we're not going side to side. If we're trying to pick up something heavy, it's a straight line from our hips to our shoulders. Exos likes to say from head to heel, strong as steel, which is something that's good. That's good to have. So we're talking about strength, power. You got to have some power. Not necessarily, I would say if I was training a corporate athlete, power would be kind of the least on my list. It's not like you're whipping around that mouse too fast, and strength would be something that I would focus on before I'd focus on power. But that's part of the something I'd think about when I'm training an athlete. Okay. Coordination and proper position. Obviously, when you're an athlete, you want to be in the right place at the right time and be able to get into those positions to get out of those positions. When I think of proper position for someone that's a corporate athlete, I think about ergonomics. And with athletes, I think about equipment. And with corporate athlete, I think about the equipment, your desk, your mouse, your monitors, things of that nature. Okay. Nutrition. Nutrition is super duper important for anybody, but it's specifically important to keeping you focused, keeping you sane, and making your ability to help your knees, back, synovial fluids in the joints. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but also just fueling the mind, which is our biggest asset here as a corporate athlete, right? And recovery. Recovery is super duper important, and I'm going to be saying super duper a lot today, but it is making sure that you are getting enough sleep, that you're taking your breaks, and generally just allowing your mind and body to kind of just relax, so you can get back on the court. Same thing with athletes. One of my biggest jobs as a track coach, I had my office right inside the rec center, and basically it was to keep my athletes off the court when they weren't in practice, not having them play around. And I would say most coaches, that's a big deal. We got to make sure that when it's time to go and you time to have all this great energy, you got to have it when you need it, instead of being burnt out or maybe not giving enough recovery is what I'm getting at here. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep on keeping on. Mobility and soft tissue. These rules are made for post-exercise. I wouldn't say any of these rules are made for pre-exercise. So if you're already exercising, you're doing all those things, continue foam rolling and doing mobility and soft tissue the way that you are. But if we want to create lasting mobility, lasting posture, these are the ways that you're going to do that. So you're going to do these after your workout. You're going to do these, sprinkle them throughout the day. I just wouldn't do this style of training before exercise. That's it. You want to spend about a minute or two per muscle group. We're going real slow. You want to think about it as a kind of a massage, like a deep tissue massage, rather than just kind of rolling up and down on the foam roller really quickly. You want to go 1 or 2 inches at a time. Going forward, you find a tight spot. You freeze until that spot releases. And what I like to do, because I like to kill two birds with one stone, I like a good discount, is that I add in my breathing in there. So I'm calming the mind, which is our nervous system. And in turn, my nervous system releases those muscles. Where I see a lot of people get it wrong is one, they're going too fast. They think foam rolling is kind of a roller coaster, and it's not. You're not sliding up and down that thing, but you're going too fast. But you're also tightening up and you're grimacing. You're holding your breath, and that's the exact opposite of what you want to do when you're doing this style of mobility and soft tissue work. You want to go slow. You want to breathe nice and controlled. 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And that's going to help those muscles release. So again, you pause on the tight spot, you breathe in and out 3 times, and then you go on and find a different knot. You work on something different. All right. Lastly, listen to your body. I say 2 pain points out of 10. Maybe initially you're like, oh, this is really, really tough. Then take gravity out of the situation and find my buddy here. If anybody wants to give me a name for him, go ahead and type it in the chat box, and that will be his name from here on out. But just like him, he found the wall. He's going to use a tennis ball, and he's gonna work out those knots in those pesky shoulders. Okay. Dang, no names yet. I think his name should be maybe Rick. I don't know. Maybe Carla. Let's see here. Looks like Jim to me. All right, he's Jim. He's Jim. This is Jim. Okay, so Jim, this is the animation version of Jim. Jim likes to work on his soft tissue muscles when he can. Sometimes he doesn't have time to go down to the gym. Here is the easiest workaround that anybody will ever give you. Obviously, you can use different types of foam rolling. You can use, well, hey, it's a foam roller. You could use a massage gun, but what I like to keep on me is a tennis ball. This is just a plain tennis ball. You can pick it up anywhere, super cheap and super easy to manipulate, right? And Jim here has really tight shoulders. That's what I hear a lot about from a lot of people, is that their shoulders, they feel like there's a knot in between the shoulders. Let me go ahead. I'm going to show you my space a little bit more. I wanted to make sure that we fix these things because, like Deion Sanders says, if we look good, we feel good. But if we feel good, we play good. So it all begets the next thing, right? So we want to make sure that we are taking care of our body. Ugh. Sorry, Jim. And we want to make sure we start that with some foam rolling, some trigger point work. So Jim's spine is right down the middle. The scapulae, these two kind of bony wing things on either side. You want to place this tennis ball on one side of the vertebrae, not on the vertebrae. You never want to roll on a bone. You want to be on one side, and you want to find this space right here. And you can do that by leaning into a wall. That's the easiest way. You don't have to get on the floor. You can just grab your tennis ball, grab a wall, whatever's closest, and lean into it. What I like to do is once you're there, hug yourself, and that's going to pull those shoulder blades out to the side, allowing maximum space for that tennis ball to fit. Super easy. A lot of other complaints that I hear is right on the traps right here, right in this neck place. I've got a spot for you there too. Jim, you're in my way. So placing it right here on the trap and finding a corner of a wall is an excellent, excellent way to work on that tight shoulder, that tight neck. And see that I'm not, I'm not on the floor. I'm not using gravity. I'm applying the pressure to myself in this space. Okay. Last but not least, I'm not going to go through all of them, but we are going to talk about, actually, it's not the last one. I lied. We're going to talk about the glutes. Sorry, Jim. We're going to work on the glutes. You can apply this, same thing. Lean it against the wall, placing this between the glutes, the top of the glutes, And below that bone, you never want to roll on bone. I can't emphasize that enough, but below that bone, yes. All right. You want to place that tennis ball between you and the wall. And just like a bear in the woods, you want to just scratch your back against that wall, against that tree. All right. Last but not least, I swear this time, this is the last, is you want to take care of those feet. Your feet being one of the only things that has constant contact with the floor. You want to make sure that your feet are nice and healthy. You can roll out your feet with a tennis ball too. All right. You want to go nice and slow, looking for spots. You find a spot. What do? 3-breath rule. Nice and slow. Rinse and repeat. Find the next spot. Okay. Your feet play a major part in how the Jenga set, I'm going to say this a few times today, the Jenga set that is you, that is a human, if your feet are tight, it's going to play a role in your ankles. And when your ankles are tight, it's going to play a role in your knees, your hips, all the way up. That's why dentists can actually prescribe inserts for your shoes because what? Lockjaw, right? We're going to get lockjaw. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of your feet, taking care of your foam roll, doing little things like this. And we're going to talk about where you can kind of sprinkle that out throughout the day. I know I'm tired of seeing my face, so I'm going to turn it back to my presentation here. And again, if you've got questions, type it in. I might not answer it. Someone said Walter. I don't know. That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Walter, I like that one. So as I can say right here, you can do the forearms. You can do a little bit of everything. I'm going to send you a one-pager after this, an email with a one-pager that describes all the points that you can use a tennis ball. This is the easiest point of entry to getting into soft tissue mobility, trigger point work. Second thing that we like to do with athletes is once we got them all nice and rolled out, we like to stretch a little bit, especially those tight points. I can't emphasize enough that you want to foam roll first and then stretch. So if I tied a knot in a rubber band, I'm not going to be able to stretch it as far, correct? Same thing with your muscles. If there's a knot in there and we're stretching it, it's not really taking care of the problem. It's feeling a bit looser. But what you want to do is do a little quick roll, then a stretch. You want to work on your neck. You can bring that hand behind your back, tilt your head to the side. And that's something you can do after you do your trap ball. This neck part right here against the wall. Super duper easy. You want to make sure that you think of yourself as kind of a pulley system. There's tight spots and there's looser spots, right? So with the shoulders, for instance, I'm going to show my terrible posture here, but if our shoulders are rounded forward, we can surmise that the chest right here is going to be super duper tight and this back part is loose, right? So we got to make sure that we foam roll this part, obviously stretch it a little bit, and then we want to strengthen that back part. And we'll talk a little bit more about strength later, but what is that going to do? We're going to strengthen our back, loosen up the front, and just like a pulley, we're going to pull ourselves into correct posture. Same thing with the hips. You see people that walk around like this a little bit, they're kind of hunched forward, but then their brain, their inner ear has to autocorrect, stand up tall, right? So you got a little bit of tight hips, and then you find somebody that's kind of standing like this, right? They got tight hips, and it's messing with the Jenga set that is the human body. I told you, I'm going to say at least 2 more times in here. All right? Does that make sense so far? I hope it does. I'm going to get a little sip of it. Okay. All right, let's continue on. Okay, movement prep. So with athletes, we go pillar prep, which is soft tissue work, a little bit of a stretch, and then we go to movement prep. So what you want to think about the movement prep is specifically you want to have good circulation. You want to increase that blood flow. You want to get the heart moving a little bit better, and that's going to allow those joints and muscles to move a little bit better. It's also going to wake up your brain, all right? You want to make sure that you're doing things that are similar to what you're going to be doing in the Fab Lab. or even at your desk. You want to make sure that, say, I'm going to be reaching for things up tall, that maybe I do some shoulder circles, right? I want to make sure that they're nice and mobile and ready to go. If I know that I'm going to be picking some things up off the floor, that my hamstrings are nice and loose. One of those things, you could do a reach and scoop, right? You want to be moving through these range of motions, not necessarily stretching and holding it for a long period of time. That was the pillar prep. Now we're into movement prep. We're getting closer to what we're going to be doing for the day. So if you're sitting at your desk, maybe we're doing some squats. We want it to be a little bit specific to what we're doing, not necessarily the thing that we're doing, because that's the cherry on top of when we start work. We want to make sure that our body is adapted and ready to go. It's woken up, we've got some blood flowing, we're feeling pretty dang good. All right. And I'm flying through this. Whew, let me know if I'm going too fast for y'all. All right. Strength for the office worker. And I would say this applies to generally everybody, but posture is key. A little backstory with a little story about track is that when you see people kind of running side to side, all I see is wasted energy, right? So we want to make sure that our posture is good, right? We want to have those shoulders pulled up, back, and down. And when we talked about core, remember, hips all the way up to our shoulders, this whole space, we want to have good, strong posture. And I highly, highly, highly recommend taking some Pilates. That's an excellent way, excellent way. We have excellent coaches in our Pilates in the Exos app, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. A lot of times when we do hinges, right, we're hinging at our hips, people tend to pick their head up. So we want to make sure that it's nice and in line. Remember, head to heel, strong as steel. So what I see a lot of people messing up in the gym specifically is picking their head up. And when they pick their head up, a lot of times that lower dosis, that lower back tends to bend a little bit more. And that can be totally prevented if your head is in line with your torso. You have good posture. You've built some of this strength. Another great kind of posture work is to do opposing muscles. So everyone likes, I know summer's coming up, everyone likes to do all the glamour muscles, the bench press, the shoulders, the abs. But to look good, you got to feel good. And if you feel good, you're going to play good, right? So you want to make sure that you're well balanced. You feel like you can go to the gym, right? You don't feel like, oh, I just feel like my shoulder's kind of wonky. Fix those first. Create a strong foundation for the house that is you, and it will pay dividends in the end. So instead of just doing bench press all the time, mix in some pulls, do legs, making sure that you're doing some lateral stuff. Maybe you're doing some lateral lunges. You're creating a well-rounded machine, right? So same thing with an athlete. If I created an athlete that is just, I'm going to go this way as fast as I can, and I don't develop the strength for them to slow down, right? It's like putting a Kia brake pads on a Ferrari. Something bad's going to happen. All right. So make sure that you're well-rounded. If you're doing a push, do a pull. Throw that in there. Okay. If you're doing a squat, do a hinge. All right. If you're working on this core, work on this core. Fix those shoulders, fix those hips. Try to think more well-rounded, because this is a marathon, this life, not a sprint. The other thing that I would like to mention is the consistency, especially when you're starting out. You want to go slow. Maybe it's 10 minutes, but that 10 minutes, you're showing up on time and you're doing your 10 minutes. Even if it's just 10 minutes, that's it. Show up, do 10 minutes. What I like to do is set time apart for myself. And I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to do, I wanted to do legs, but I'm not really feeling it. But I'm like, okay, 10 minutes, I can do 10 minutes. And I show up, I do 10 minutes. And then if I'm not feeling it, I'm done. The hard part was showing up. And then eventually I can kind of spread that out, depending on my time and how my schedule is working. you can start, the discipline is just showing up, and then you can just start adding time over and over again. Okay. And I already mentioned balance routine. Get those leg days in. Don't skip leg days. All right. All right. Let's see. Here's a great example that one of our coaches put together. Quick and easy, 20 minutes. It's easy to start. So if you're working on your glutes, you can do a trigger point with the glute against the wall. You can do a figure four stretch. You could do this seated. You could do it standing. And that's all that is putting your ankle on top of your knee and sitting forward. That's it. You can do it from a desk. You can do it standing like I just did. So we broke up that tissue. We stretched it out. It's ready to go. And then maybe I'll do some movements. Maybe I know that day I'm going to have to get down low because there's a bunch of stuff that's low. Maybe I'm doing some lateral shuffles, getting some blood flow to those legs, getting some of that blood into my whole body. That's going to help wake me up for sure. And then a glute bridge. All that is shoulders on the ground. I'm not going to demonstrate it, but just Google glute bridge and you'll figure it out. But these are quick 20-minute things that you could kind of fit into your schedule to get the ball rolling. All right. You got back day, hamstrings are super important for someone that is a desk worker. Those hamstrings get crazy tight. And T-spine, we could all use a little bit more T-spine, basically the thoracic spine, making sure that our shoulders are nice and strong and are, in different directions. So pulling horizontally, pushing vertically. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep this train going. Okay, so proper positioning with your ergonomic assessment. So with an athlete, I'm trying to relate this all back to an athlete. It's similar to making sure that your helmet fits correctly. If an athlete came to me and said that their spikes, they're too loose, that would be a major problem for us because we want them to be able to perform when the time comes. So same thing with your desk. You want to make sure that everything's within reach. You feel comfortable. You feel like you can kind of get in there and get some work done. Same concept as an athlete and their equipment that they have. So you have the posture. We're working on strength, mobility, flexibility. And now we get into our equipment. We're getting into our zone. We want to make sure that we're not getting injured, right? We're staying on the field so we can perform. And yeah, pretty much that. Things that you can do. Let me move my head out the way. There we go. So I can read it. There it is. Go ahead and get your virtual assessment. And I would say if you're at a desk, you hybrid, you're remote, you can get your assessment done through Cardinus. But what I highly, highly recommend is talking to an Ergo Plus, get a one-on-one with the Ergo Plus coach. Whereas a ergonomic assessment is playing, all these sports things are coming to me, man-to-man. Ergo Plus, we're playing zone. We're making sure that you're healthy with your posture. We're giving you exercises to do. We're plugging you in to all these other services, all these other various coaches, right? That are pros in what they do. We're plugging you into different services. So you're able to kind of get the full spectrum. Okay. Come talk to us. If you're working in a fab or lab, we can definitely plug you into an in-person ergonomic assessment. It is super important that you feel comfortable in your equipment. All right. And this goes into bracing. This is more of a fab or lab, but it can also be applied to desk work. Just keeping in mind, this is where that specific movement is in our movement prep. Keep in mind of what you do on the day-to-day. Making sure that you're getting into position and you're able to work through that position and you're bracing properly. So making sure your feet are secure. You're activating your glutes. Most often than not, we're picking stuff up. And so that will come with, let me change this view again. I'm going to put y'all on to some stuff. All right. So with a squat, you want to make sure your feet are shoulder width apart. You can have your feet facing forward, or they can turn slightly out, right? Depends on where your hips are. My hips are a little bit what they call a retrograde, so they're a little bit further back. They're not just bolted into the side. Everyone's a little bit different. So when you squat, you want to make sure your core is tight, your head is in line with your torso, and you come back up. A couple of things that might happen here. If your knees buckle, right, That's not so great. What you do to kind of fix that is turn those feet slightly out. Okay. If your heels come up off the ground, you want to make sure you're foam rolling your feet and your calves and making sure you got proper footwear. And that's going to help that a little bit more. You can definitely talk to an Ergo Plus concierge, or you can talk to a coach. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right. No more of my face. No more. Here we go. Well, there we go. Okay. So when you brace for something, you definitely want to breathe in as you're picking something up and breathe out as you're as you're going up. So as you're going down, breathing in, breathing out as you're coming up. And you want to feel like maybe you're bracing for someone. I just punched myself in the belly, as if someone's punching someone's punching you in the belly. Good night. Don't punch yourself while you're giving a presentation. So you want to keep that core tight, breathing in, squatting down, breathing out as you come up. Okay? Right. Let's keep it going. Here is a very important one. You wouldn't think much of it. Your nutrition, right? So if you're not eating enough protein, body has trouble repairing itself. And every day there's a chance for your body to repair itself, right? So make sure that your meals are well-rounded, helps with building and repairing cells, and obviously depends on your lifestyle and exercise, how much protein. But I would say, and I'll speak to it a little bit more, but you need to talk to our dietitians about that. And that's an excellent resource. Eating at work. So for me, I like to have like a bucket of trail mix. I like to have like a banana, maybe an apple, something nearby that's not going to bog me down and make me sleepy. But you want to have those foods kind of around you and ready to go, just like an athlete that goes to the sideline, drinks some Gatorade, has a cup of water. You want to make sure that while you're in the game, between 8 and 5 or 9 and 5 or whatever, you're properly hydrated and you're eating well. So hydration, a good rule of thumb is to shoot for at least half your body weight in fluid ounces. Half your body weight in fluid ounces. So I'm 200 pounds. I try to drink 100 fluid ounces in a day. And I just didn't start there out of nowhere. It took me some time to build up to that. And I would say a good rule of thumb would be adding about 10 fluid ounces a week to your daily intake. So wherever you are, add 10 fluid ounces a week to your daily intake. You want to make sure that your muscles aren't beef jerky, right? So making sure that the synovial fluid in the joints, nice and smooth, the muscles are working appropriately, and that starts with hydration. Hydration, hydration, hydration. All right? Okay, let's continue on. Maybe. There you go. All right. So one of my favorite coaches, and I read one of his memoirs. I think he only has one. So it was John Wooden. He was the head coach at UCLA, and he was kind of a foot fanatic, I guess is the lack of a better word. He made sure that all of his athletes had the best footwear and took care of their feet, right? He knew that the one thing that they have in contact with the floor, the one thing that they couldn't do without was terrible feet. So he made sure that they're working on their feet. Tons of nerves in the feet. That's why I highly recommend first thing in the morning, getting your tennis ball, rolling out your feet, kind of waking it up, because now you have more of an awareness of where your feet are and your body can move appropriately. So it just takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes on each foot. Roll it out. You're going to feel a little bit more stable throughout the day. Keep in mind that the surface matters. 4 hours on a raised metal floor equals 8 hours on concrete. That's a lot. Make sure you are mentally prepared for that and you take care of your feet. When you take your breaks, put your feet up, roll out your feet. You can stretch out your toes. One of my favorite things is to kind of push my toes into the floor. I just do this at the grocery store all the time. All the time. No one ever says anything to me. I'm just constantly stretching out my toes, which is going to stretch out the bottom of my feet, which is going to be applied to my calves, hammies, all the way up the chain. And obviously, this is kind of a gross. I didn't know this myself, but staying hydrated, your foot can lose up to a pint of moisture, which is kind of gross. But that shows how important the feet are and how important drinking water it is. Okay, it is kind of gross. Okay, so how to select the right pairs of shoes? Bring your old shoes in when buying new ones. If you really like your old ones, wear those in. When you're trying on shoes, lace both of them up. Feet are a little bit different, right? Your feet aren't identical. Just like your hands, the creases in them, they aren't identical. So make sure that you try on both to be aware of how that shoe's going to fit. And what I just learned too recently was try your shoes on at the end of the day. I didn't really think about that before, but that's a tip that I'm gonna carry with me. Your feet, gravity involved, the blood that flows to it, they spread out towards the end of the day. They're a little bit more sore at the end of the day. So when you go after work, instead of like on a weekend, hey, I'm going to pick up some shoes, they're going to fit different and they're going to feel different. So after you've done a hard day's work, 8 hours or 12 hours for some of us, make sure that you go try on your shoes then. And then only then you'll be able to be like, hey, these shoes are the bee's knees. Okay. And definitely make sure to change them out every 6 months. What I would say is look out for on the heels or anywhere along the shoe, you can start seeing creases. Once you start seeing that, you kind of know that, just like wrinkles on a face, it's getting time for that shoe to retire. So look for creases along the sides of the shoes. Look for wear and tear on maybe the heel, maybe the outside of that foot. And that should tell you it's about time. Another great tip is to rotate your shoes so you don't wear them out so quickly. Maybe you have two pairs of shoes. Things you shouldn't do. This is a kind of a preference for anybody, but shopping online, getting your shoes in. I know a lot of people do that. I don't like the hassle of trying them on and be like, well, I've got to wait another couple of weeks to get these shoes in. So to each his own. But I would say the best way is to get into the shoe store, and you don't have to be like me, but I'm that guy that's in the shoe store, like juking out things and running around. That's me. I'm sure I'm not the only one that still does that, but I've been doing that since I was a kid. Go and try them out. Try to move in a similar direction and manner that you do at work. Make sure that they fit good. And buy high quality shoes. They'll last you a lot longer. They'll save you a lot of issues with knees, ankles, back, all the way up. Remember, dentists can also prescribe inserts for your shoes. Wear Jenga set. That's the second time. That's the second time I said I was going to say it. And make sure they're broken in, right? Before you go and do 8 hours with some brand new kicks, go walk around the block, for a week or two with those bad boys on and making sure that they're nice and broken in. You don't want to have any blisters or you're feeling uncomfortable. It could really hurt your back. I know when I was trying out those finger shoes that were really popular a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that I noticed that I had a strain on the inside of my leg. I wore them for about 8 hours and I was like, I didn't do anything. I was just walking around sitting at my desk. You never know how a shoe is going to mess up the Jenga set. So break them in, walk around the block, get them a little bit dirty. Recovery. Okay, this is where most of my job was done at the university where I was coaching, is making sure that we were taking breaks, making sure that the athletes were in between races, getting enough water, fueling up. They weren't doing extracurricular activities and playing basketball when they should be resting. But you should start thinking of yourself as the LeBron James of your desk, right? So you want to make sure LeBron James doesn't play the entire game. He takes breaks. Same thing with your brain. Your brain needs breaks. But every 60 to 90 minutes, try to take about 5-10 minutes. This is where RSI guard is excellent in making sure that you're being healthy. It can be kind of a pain, but it is a necessary evil, and it makes sure that you're working with the marathon instead of the short sprint. I use a technique called the Pomodoro technique. I've got my kitchen timer here, which is telling me that I'm over time. But I use that. I set it for 25 minutes, and for 5 minutes, maybe I meditate. Maybe I get up and stretch and move around if I'm feeling tired. Maybe I go stick my feet in the grass and just kind of change my environment a little bit. All right. So make sure that you're LeBron James. You're taking your breaks so you can get back in there. Let your brain kind of cool off for a second so you can get back in and do the things you need to do. Transitioning for work. Uh, it's funny. I was driving my nephew the other day, and he goes, "Is that where the Jets play?" And I said, "Or that's where the Jets live." And I was like, "No, they don't live at the stadium." And neither should you. You should make sure that you're going outside, you're transitioning throughout the day. So maybe in the morning, you get some sunlight in your eyes, stick your feet in some grass. At the end of the day, I suggest going out and go for a walk, open the window, just kind of airing out the day's work, and making sure that your environment feels good when you come back into it. Sleep, obviously, you need it. You wouldn't expect your phone to last the whole day if you didn't plug it in and recharge it. So, make sure your battery is nice and charged, and that your room is dark. You've got a cool environment. I particularly like to foam roll and stretch before bed, but that's me. But have a wind down routine, right? Athletes need sleep to perform. So do you. Eyes. Okay, for every 20 minutes, for 20 seconds, stare out for 20 yards. All right, so every once in a while, take your eyes off of your screen, which is super duper close, and look off into the distance, and that's going to help relax those eyes, right? Your eyes are doing an isometric. They're doing one of these for 8 hours. So give them a break, let them look off into the distance for a second. The other thing that I like to do is I like to create friction with my hands, get them nice and warm. Close my eyes, put my hands over my eyes, and allow that heat to kind of wash over my eyes, let my eyes relax for a second. The other thing that I like to do is roll my eyes around in their socket. You look like a crazy person, but if you're staring like this, doing an isometric with your eyes for 8 hours, give your eyes a break, let them kind of move around, and you'll notice when you do it, and let me know if I'm lying, but they kind of get tired after you do a couple of laps. Your eyes are like, I haven't done this workout in forever. And that's another way to kind of just relax your eyes and to allow them to get out of that position of straightforwardness. Okay? Woo! All right, we're almost there, y'all. Examples of the schedule. So 8 to 5 here. And what I really want you to pay attention to is the blue spots. And there's such small amounts of time, but utilize that time efficiently, right? 9 to 9:10, go walk around, go get a beverage. Maybe you have, a beverage that you like that's right next to you, but maybe, if I get up and move around, that's going to help wake my brain up a little bit more. Go down and get that beverage the next hallway over. The other thing is stretch breaks, do some eye work, getting up, moving around, creating some energy. Walk outside, always good to get some sunlight. Use your tennis ball. Use it, use it, use it. I'm going to send you that one pager after this. And then mixing in some strength training and some movement at the end. 15 minutes doing some W's, strengthening those back muscles, doing some Y's. You can do some T's. And that's going to, like I said earlier, it's going to help strengthen that back. And if you're doing your foam rolling with your chest, the pectoralis minor up here underneath that collarbone, it's that hinge that pulley system that's going to pull us into a good position. So this is just an example. You can make it up however you want, but mix it in there periodically. You want to take breaks like LeBron James. Here's some resources. Ergo Plus Concierge Program. You can talk to myself or all the other great coaches that are on that program. The Exos app, they have on-demand and live classes. They have recharge breaks, about 10 minutes, which is perfect. You can hop into a nice breath work, like nice stretching. You don't really have to think about it. You can kind of tune out, which is kind of a bonus there. Obviously, there's some soft tissue exercises on the app. I teach the Revive and Align class in here, 12:05 PST. Come join me on Wednesdays. My goal in there is to teach you everything I know so I don't have to see you again, but you don't have to see me. All right, one-on-one coaching consults. They have those in the Exos app. They have nutrition consultations in the app as well, which is excellent. Headspace app and RSI Guard as we're all transitioning to that program. Take advantage of it. Take care of yourself. Take your breaks. Be LeBron James. Okay, questions. Here, if you have your phone out, scan the QR code. Tell me how I did. Tell her how we're doing as the wellness event. And yeah, I'm going to start answering some questions. That is a presentation on corporate athlete. I know I went a few minutes long, but I told you there's a ton of information, and I'm excited about it because I think everybody should know it. They should start teaching this in school. All right, the one question I got so far is that Pat should be the name of my mannequin. I kind of like Walter. I'm sorry, Jill. I kind of like Walter. All right. Pop it in the chat if you have any questions. If not, pretty much done here. Walter, I know somebody's typing. Thank you for joining me and spending time with me in the dungeon. I do teach in the mornings on the app, and I teach meditation and breath work. No problem, Carla. I appreciate you swinging through. Walter for the win. Nicole's giving me a thumbs up. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Just take care of yourselves. I'm going to send you a one-pager with the tennis ball. It's the cheapest and easiest barrier to entry to get into foam rolling, and it's something that we all hopefully will take advantage of. Carlos, thank you. I appreciate it. A nice sip of water. Okay. All right. We're all a bunch of corporate athletes. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm going to type my email into here. Everyone. There we go. William x.dodd.intel.com. Find me on the app. Find me an email. Find me however you can. I can help and point you in the right direction. All right, everybody. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I will catch you next time. Bye.